Hello, and you're welcome once again to another edition of My Opinion on Clevenard TV. My name is Franca Idemudia, and as usual, I'm asking that you remember to keep signing up on www.clevenard.com. Right, this morning we'll be discussing an issue that has to do with every woman, every female, every lady out there, and which is gender-based violence. And I have my guest this morning as Brenda Madumise Pajibo. She is a human rights and a women activist for human rights. Madam, you're welcome to My Opinion.
Good morning, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you so much. Now, we would like to start with this man. Could you please introduce yourself? I know I've done one or two things, but I know I have not done justice to that. So please, I'd like you to introduce.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I'm Brenda Madumise. I'm a trained lawyer, but a gender activist by choice. I've been doing this work for the last 30 years, and I'm just not about to stop doing it until we achieve the equality and the equity that we talk about. So that's my life. That's what I do. I'm a trained lawyer, but I'm a gender activist.
So when you say gender-based violence, what kind of violence are you really talking about? Because we have the female and the male gender. Now, what angle are you taking this concept from?
So when we speak of gender-based violence or gender violence, we're looking at the two genders, men and women, right? And how violence manifests itself when it's perpetrated by males against women, and vice versa. But the priority and the emphasis has always been on the violence perpetrated by men on women because of its prevalence. Is the highest anywhere in the world. That's why you see us talking in great detail about gender violence as it relates to men violating women on a daily basis. And it does not mean when we prioritize and highlight the violence perpetrated by men on women that you don't talk about the violence that men experience at the hands of their partners.
Okay, you've been in this practice for years now. What would you say? What you've seen so far? Who is more affected by this gender violence? Is it the men or the women?
I think we're all affected. Once I am violated, once I am sexually harassed, once I am sexually assaulted, once I am raped, once I am physically abused, once I'm emotionally abused, once I am economically abused, that affects not just myself, it affects those who are in my immediate circle, in my family, my children, even the perpetrator himself gets affected. So gender-based violence is harm inflicted. It's felt not just by the victim or survivor of that violence, but even those who are surrounding her and many others who are supportive of the cause of gender-based violence. So it affects all of us all. And that's why it's not just a women's issue, it's a societal issue, it's a community issue, it's a national issue, it's a nation's issue. It requires all hands on deck, irrespective of where you are in your social strata, that you play a part in ensuring that we stop and stem gender-based violence.
All right, now let's go over to the forms of gender violence we're talking about. Because some people will tell you, when you mention the word or the phrase gender violence, most people like to channel it to just the women alone. But in the course of things, we're having even children being abused, we're having adolescents and all of that. Now, can you please just enumerate on the forms of violence that you have been into?
So the violence is quite broad. So it's intimate partner violence, where the intimate partner violence could be physical, where you are beaten by your spouse. It could be emotional, where you are emotionally abused on a daily basis because someone keeps on demeaning you and diminishing who you are, and that has got emotional and psychological scars. You have financial abuse, where men use money to control women and ensure that women behave the way they want them to behave. You then have rape, which is another form of violence on women. You have sexual harassment, which is what most women experiences in the workplace, where you have for you to get a promotion, for instance, or for you to get a job, you must do a sexual favor to someone who is in a powerful position before they can employ you. There is sexual assault where someone decides to touch you, grope you, touch your breast, touch your buttocks. That's harassment. That's sexual assault. There's also molestation of children, where a child at the age of 5, 4 is molested by an uncle, is molested by a father, molested by a brother, and the molestation most of the time take the form of sexual molestation. You have sex trafficking of women. There's a form of violence that happens on a daily basis. You have child brides where you are marrying children as from the age of 10, 15, 14, 13. They are being married off to older men. That's a form of violence on women. So these are the kinds of violence that we talk about. And in its entirety, when you speak of gender-based violence, we talk about the power and control that is visited upon on women by those who've got the power. And if you look at this scourge that we're dealing with, and I always want to refer people to how long it has taken us. And if you think about it, is that as women, we had to fight for our existence. For me to exist, for you to exist, you had to fight for people to understand and appreciate that you are a human being. So you were denied the right to vote. You were denied the right to walk the streets freely. You are denied to speak up, and because they believe that because you're a woman, you have got no right to speak up. So in everything that we have done, in time and memorial, is that we as women had to fight for our existence, from the right to vote to today, when we are still even fighting for the right to choose on what to do with our bodies.
Now you mentioned it in your trying to analyze the forms of violence, but I'd still like to come in this way with this my next question. What are the consequences of all this on the victim itself?
And it's a point that we have not been able to talk about and really expose the harm inflicted upon victims and survivors of gender violence. Because we move on. I mean, a woman gets raped, we don't even get to ask what has happened to that woman. The consequences are huge on a woman, because it's something that lives with you for the rest of your life. It's a scar that goes deep, that can never be taken away or removed even by a psychotherapy session that you'll undertake. So because we don't understand the harm that is inflicted upon anyone who is a victim of violence, we tend to diminish what women go through once they have experienced violence and gender violence. So the harm, the psychological effects, the trauma that a victim of violence stays with because of what happened to her through the violence, it's everlasting. No one can erase that. It's something that a woman lives with and has to make do on a daily basis to survive and not be triggered. And that's why you find, in most cases, a woman who was raped, for instance, and never spoke about it, never reported it, and 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later, something happens that triggers her to go back to that memory of what had happened to her. So that psychological effects are huge, and we have not even begun to understand its impact.
So are you saying that there is no way out of this? Can it be managed?
We don't even want to manage it. It's about men stopping this behavior and conduct, right? It's not about women us changing who we are, or being told that you can't wear a short skirt. It's about men changing their behavior and their attitudes and how they relate to women. And I think it's about time that we change and place the burden where it should be located. It should be located to men. We can't keep on telling women, go to classes to protect yourself, self-defense classes. Oh, don't walk around in the streets at night. Don't go to a bar. Don't go to a party. It has to be, men, if I go to a party, you have got no right to do what you do. Stop that behavior. And that's a message that has to go out into the world, that we have to stop telling women what to do to protect themselves against individuals who violate them. The women are not violating anyone. It's the men who are violating. So the message should be, you stop the violation. You stop the groping. You stop the catcalling. You stop the sexual harassment. You stop abusing the women in your lives. And that's what you should be emphasizing on. And I think if we can start doing that, we've got a long way to go in ensuring that we get rid of, and we rid ourselves of the scourge of gender-based violence.
Now, violation by men itself, you just made mention of something about we having to tell our men to stop this violence. Okay, now we'll look at it, and then some people will tell you, oh, the women caused it based on what you just analyzed, and then some other things that we see in social media nowadays. Now, but let me take it generally now, not just in South Africa. In Nigeria, we're having issues where you have 8 months old, 16 months old being violated by men. Now, what do you think could be responsible for such, should I call it a mentality or a wrong mentality?
And that's the point. I mean, I think our attention should be on men to refrain and cease and desist from that conduct. It's conduct that is unacceptable. It's behavior that is not welcome. It's behavior that is uncomfortable. So they have to stop. And until they understand why what they do is wrong, they will think it's okay because it's banter amongst themselves. They talk about it. They think it's being hip and cool by violating another woman because it's what boys do. It's what men do. So we need to stop celebrating that kind of behavior and calling it for what it is, and calling it violence because it is violence, and stop celebrating it, and stop equating violence to love, because you can't say you love me but then you are violent towards me. So it's around how we also raise our children in understanding how you demonstrate love, how you demonstrate kindness, how you demonstrate empathy, how you demonstrate compassion. Your manhood, your masculinity is not defined by the size of the body that you have, or the biological or that anatomy that you have. Your masculinity should be defined by being a good person and doing good deeds and being kind and being loving and being empathetic and sympathetic.
All right, we'll get back to that on how to make the men stop this. Okay, but for now, you've obviously worked with some victims, and then you've worked with some women as well, and during the course of your duties. Now, would you tell us? We would like to know, who are the most vulnerable?
I think women in general are vulnerable. But the most vulnerable are the children, because I mean, if you are going to violate a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old, I mean, how can that baby defend herself? Not that we can defend ourselves most of the time when we get violated, but we're all vulnerable. It becomes worse and unacceptable when it comes to children. It becomes unacceptable and becomes worse when it's an elderly woman who is old, who's a 70-year-old or an 80-year-old, and they get violated. It gets worse when it's someone who's got a disability. So we're all vulnerable one way or the other as women because of where we find ourselves in society and the general, because we have always been looked at as a species that is weak and must be protected. And in the protection, it's about controlling and possessing women and wanting to do as you wish with them. And that's why you think you can decide what should happen with their bodies. You can decide how they should speak and when they should speak. You can decide what they should wear and where they should sit and how they should sit.
Now, handling these issues of trying to give the victims a support in the society, is there any responsibility that the community should play in this?
No, as I said earlier, all of us and the community, what we want to see from the community is not looking the other way when violence presents itself. When they see a woman being harassed in the street, being catcalled, being groped, that the community will stand up and say that is a no. It should not be done. And until we rally behind such and have a concerted effort from communities standing up and saying this behavior is not tolerated, this behavior is not acceptable, then we will continue to think that it's okay to violate women. So communities, wherever we are, because we are communities in different forms. We have communities in where we live, we have communities in the churches, we have communities in the schools, we have communities in the workplace. We need to rally ourselves in every space that we occupy to ensure that we rid ourselves of the gender violence.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. We'll get back to our discuss shortly, but we'd like to take a short break here. Audience, please don't go away. We'll come back shortly.
In the 21st century's technological advancement, we all seek opportunities to move and network with the emerging space. Introducing Clevenard blog and event posting. Do you think you have some interesting materials, good content, articles, and stories? Then feel free to publish them on Clevenard blog and events page, just as team of our writers are doing presently. By blogging on Clevenard's blogs and events, you benefit from our reach and network. There are constant stream of people visiting our social platform, and we have figured out just how to distribute our contents. This means you can basically skip the line and get access to a big audience from day one. Furthermore, we can help you get in touch with important people for projects with possibilities of translating your content into other languages and republishing them on Clevenard. This helps preserve and protect your content from getting lost. What's more, you also get to be part of our team with access to our network and lots of exclusives, behind-the-scenes information. And of course, you get full credit for everything you do, which brings you popularity and make extra income. Sign up now on Clevenard.com and start blogging to your advantage. Please see the tutorial video on how to blog or post events on Clevenard blogs and events. For more information, contact info@clevenard.com +34 631 279811. Website www.clevenard.com. Clevenard, your blogs, your identity.
You're welcome back. We are still with Mrs. Pajibo, activist for Women Rights South Africa. Now we'll get back to the show, man, and I would like to get on with this question. Now, what are your experiences with the victims you've had so far in South Africa? Obviously, you've been into this for a very long time. You've had people that have come to let that report to you, or you've witnessed some yourself. What are your experiences with these victims?
The experience varies from person to person, from victim to victim. But I mean, most of the time is that, and that's the sad part for me, is when a victim who has been violated believes that they did something wrong, and you had to show them that you did absolutely nothing wrong to deserve to be slapped, to deserve to be sexually harassed, to deserve to be raped. And so, the work that we do is to get the victims to believe in themselves and not think that they are to blame for the behavior of someone else. You have got no control over the behavior of the individual who decided to catcall you, to sexually harass you, or to rape you. You can see that it takes courage for most of them to get to a point where they understand that. The second thing is the experience with the victims has been that they always believe that they will not be believed. They are so scared not to be believed, and that's what we have done to victims of violence, and especially gender violence, where I am too scared to report some crime that has been visited upon me, something that has been done to me. I'm too scared to report it because I think no one is going to believe me that I was raped, that I was beaten up by my husband, I was beaten up by my spouse. And that's a travesty. And we that's why we, as Wise for Africa, we have a campaign around Believe Her, because we minimize the experiences of victims of violence, and we don't believe them, and that's why we don't have most women reporting these cases, because they know the vilification that they are going to get, how they are going to be treated by society, because society believes them to be liars, and that's what we're trying to change.
So what kind of succor can such a person get? Because basically, I'm talking to you from Nigeria, and I've had issues of people like this. In fact, once you've been sexually abused or raped or whatever, and then you voice out, the entire case is turned on you. Even the church is not helping issues. Families is not helping issues, and there's so many other stuff. You are regarded as the liar and all that. So in such a situation, what would you advise the victim to do? What option can the victim take?
So you see what is good with what we're doing is that a campaign like Believe Her, it gives them confidence. It bolsters their confidence, because they know that there are people out there who believe their version of events and who will be there come what may. And that's what we do. We hold their hand. And I think we should all do that. So if in Nigeria, once a woman comes out to talk about their experience at the hands of a man and of violation, is that you start by believing that woman and hold their hands. And it makes a huge difference, because their confidence is bolstered. They are able to share with you more details of what happened to them. So I think we should all start by believing, right? And once we believe what the woman is saying to us, we then hold their hands so that they know that they can never fall, that there are people around them. There's an army of men and women around her who believe in what she has gone through, and believe that her lived experience is the truth.
All right. So at what stage should a victim cry out? Because I've had a case, he raped the victim once and all that, and then for the first time they will tell you are not supposed to be bothered about it being is the first time. So at what stage in life should a woman that is being violated cry out for help?
The first time it happens, that's when you should.
Looking for an African movie? Search no further. Clevenard African Movies TV is here for you. We are dedicated to the acceleration of African films, TV series, documentaries, and lots more. Explore our movies at home or on the go. Clevenard Movies is free to watch on Clevenard.com. Don't miss this opportunity. Hurry now. Sign up and subscribe today. Hello there.
Introducing Clevenard More Food. Clevenard More Food is an African-based startup and fastest-growing food delivery player in Africa. At Clevenard More Food, we find solutions that redefine the food ordering and delivery space every single day. Order food from your favorite restaurants near you. Our aim is to transform the way people acquire what they eat and make food shopping easy for the general public. Help change the way people order food online and create a better and faster way to get it delivered to your doorstep. We invite every restaurant to sign up your restaurants to Clevenard More Food to enable you reach out to a larger customer base and increase your brand visibility. Download the best food delivery app now. Order from your favorite restaurants and track on the go. Download in 3 steps. App 1, Clevenard More Food, is for customers who want to order food for delivery from our app. App 2 is for Clevenard store owner. This is for restaurants who want to register their menu onto the Clevenard More Food. App 3 for Clevenard delivery staff. This app is for our delivery partners. You know what? We are always looking for pickup and delivery partners who take exceptional pride in being a hunger savior. We find solutions that redefine the food ordering and delivery space every single day. Sign up now, buy, and we deliver to your doorstep promptly. Clevenard, more food, more sales, less stress. Contact telephone +34 631 279811. info@clevenard.com or clevenard2011@gmail.com. www.clevenard.net or www.clevenard.com.
You're welcome back. Man, I like to start with this. Let's start this segment with this. You obviously have records of victims in South Africa. Now, according to your records over there, how many women are victims of this domestic abuse?
Gee, I mean, it's so intimate partner violence, which is the one that it happens in a domestic setting. It's very high. I mean, and it's high everywhere in the world. Intimate partner violence, because I always give the examples of men who watch soccer in the UK. When their team loses, they take their frustrations out of their spouses, partners, and wives. So intimate partner violence is huge. It's the highest everywhere in the world, right? South Africa has got the highest numbers of rape. Because we're talking about reported rapes. I mean, there are a number of rapes that don't get reported. So you won't be able to know the true state of affairs around rape. We've got high levels of femicide. I mean, the killing of women by their partners. That happens, and it's also very high. So it's unacceptable. The levels are unacceptable. The numbers are unacceptable. One rape, one murder, one sexual assault, one sexual harassment is but too many to happen. We don't want that to happen. And that's why we don't even spend time on these numbers, because it's just numbers. There are human beings behind those numbers that have been affected that we must address and deal with.
And we also have on record that sexual violence is been declared illegal in South Africa. So for how long has this been?
So we've got domestic violence law in this country that is a crime for domestic violence. We've got sexual harassment it's illegal. It's a crime. Rape is a crime. So we've had these laws in the statute books for a good 20 years, and that's why you will see that laws on their own cannot solve the problem. They assist in curbing the violence, but what is at the center and where we should be expending our time, effort, and resources is on prevention, because we can have as many laws as you can, but when people continue to be violent towards others, and you have laws that stops people from behaving in that manner, victims and everyone else has to question, why does the law exist in the first place? So laws are there really to ensure that once someone gets violated, there's action and there are consequences. So we shouldn't be pinning our hopes on laws. We should be pinning our hopes on prevention and ensuring that we do everything in our powers, put up strategies that are going to assist us in eradicating and preventing gender-based violence.
Thank you. We are going to actually get back to that, which is prevention and how to curb men that has this tendency to do things of this nature. But before we do that, I'd like to ask this question. When you get married, or a woman that is married to any man, you are expected that whatever the man demands, in Africa, it is expected that whatever the man demands should be given to him, whether the woman wants to or not. Now, would you say, isn't it like rape within a marriage?
So there are cases where rape has occurred in a marriage. We've got case law in this country where many years ago, before the dawn of democracy, there was a case where a woman had alleged that her husband had raped her, but they are married, and everyone found that to be to be ridiculous that a husband cannot rape you. And at the time, the law and the courts believed that she was not raped. But now there's a recognition and acceptance that a rape can occur even in a marriage, where when you are not ready and do not want to have sex with your partner and they force themselves on you without your consent, that is sexual violence, that is rape.
Let's sell on your behalf. If your item sells on our web shop, you pay a 10% commission plus the transaction fees, and you get the rest. Register now at www.shop.clevenard.com. Start uploading your product and services. We can really sell it on your behalf so you can carry on working on the things important to you. Are you looking to sell any type of product or service and you want to avoid the hassle involved? Selling can be an arduous and time-consuming process. At Clevenard Super Shop, we will be happy to take over the workload of promoting or selling your products or services. All you need to do is to register at www.shop.clevenard.com, enter your shop or vendor information, and then start uploading your product and services. We will do the selling. Now, be ready to get more sales and awareness. Start making more money from your business with Clevenard Super Shop by partnering with us today. And then start.
All right, I asked a question before the short break, and I'd like us to get back on that. In Africa, like I said, a man is said to have an advantage. Should I use the word dominion? I didn't want to use it, but I can't really find the exact word to use there. Now, it is decided that it is the right of every man to do to the wife as it pleases him. So I don't know, let's really get to understand this concept of rape within marriages.
So as I said, remember, if men are socialized and culturalized to believe that women are possessions and they need to control them, and that's their socialization. So you have been socialized for many years as a young man to believe that a woman is something that you own and control and you must possess. Then that's what you do, and that's how you view a woman, and that's how the entire continent has been viewing women. That we've got no saying. We are at the mercy of this man or a husband in your life, and once that happens, that man can do as they please with you. And that's why many women are killed, many women are raped, many women are violated, because someone has decided that they can do so because they own you. And that's what we need to change, because we are not slaves to anybody. We are not owned by anybody, right? So this culture that told them that they have dominion over others, it's a practice that has got no bearing in our lives, because I'm a human being. So you can't treat me with contempt as your partner and subject me to abuse, subject me to violence because you think you own me. And I think we need to understand this thing very well. And yesterday I spent time at a meeting with a group of men going through this concept of why is it that men are so obsessed with controlling women. Where does that come from? And what does it do for them? Where you think that you must control another human being and direct their thinking, direct their everything, their every aspect of their life. Where do you get that? And what pleasure does it give you, other than to see someone suffer and being violated all the time? And I think we have to go to the core of that. Why is it that men believe that they must control, to exercise power over someone, you must control them and own them because you think you can, because you're a man? I mean, that's nonsense.
Yeah, we talked on the sexual and violations and the rape and the others, but now let's take it down to homicides. Now, according to your record in South Africa, who are the perpetrators of these homicides? Are they strangers, family members?
Oh, so most of the femicide that is committed is actually partners. It's someone who decides to kill you because you decide to leave them, right? Most cases of women who have died at the hands of their partners is because she decided to walk away from the relationship, and this person believes that you can't walk away from me. No one, if you walk away from you, no one will have you. So majority of the cases where women have been killed, they've been killed by their partners, their male partners, and it's all about them when the woman leaves them, they don't want don't want the woman to leave them. In other instances, is where they are running multiple affairs, and the other one gets to find out, or doesn't want the other one to find out, and they kill the woman. So the femicide that we have seen in this country has been partners killing their partners and killing women.
Yeah, and then again, to escape this hurt, some women end up taking their own lives, committing suicide, and all that. So in South Africa, have you experienced any of these cases?
Yeah, no. You have where because and most times when a woman decides to take their own life, and I will also just bring in the LGBTQI, where once once when I experience violation, and I speak about it and I'm not believed, that many women decide to take their lives because they can't live with this stigma of being known to be liars, because societies think that they didn't tell the truth, and the only way to prove that they were telling the truth, they must go through a court of law that is going to determine the guilt or not guilt of the perpetrator. And then this has happened with many young boys who have found themselves to be not heterosexual but gay young boys, and once they talk about it, they're ridiculed, and then they take their own lives because they can't live in a society that is not accepting and welcoming.
So according to your record, how many percentage of this have you encountered?
No, but it's not a huge percentage. It's not a huge percentage. I mean, it's a if we, I mean, and I don't want to give the number. I mean, but it's minuscule compared to the many cases that we go through. It's you hardly find many women taking on their lives, or what you will see is most times attempting to do so, and the help is made available urgently, and that they are then made to go through counseling, and other help is given. So the number of suicide is not high. Attempted suicide, yes, precisely because then organizations that do this work step in and assist.
Okay, now let's take it down, narrow it down to teenagers and then children, below the age of 10 and all that, because some people will tell you, oh, she was violated, she was raped, or whatever, because she was indecently dressed, or maybe she caused it one way or the other. Now, what is the fault of the teenagers that do not even know of anything yet, or what is the cause, okay, of the children, the innocent children that are being violated? What is the...
So let's be clear that any child who falls pregnant when they're 10, that is not it's not a teenage pregnancy, is rape, right? And it's got nothing to do with what they were wearing. It's got nothing to do with where they were. It has a lot with that individual who decided that to find it okay to violate a 10-year-old. And this, for me, is at the heart of the discussions that we are having around gender-based violence. We cannot, and we're going to stop placing the responsibility on women. The responsibility should be on men who think that it's okay to violate a 10-year-old child. And then we turn around and say, what did that child do? The child did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. There have been cases of a 2-year-old being raped. What would have a 2-year-old done to a 50-year-old man or a 30-year-old man? Nothing. It's behavior that must stop from men. They must stop violating women. Simple as that. The
So what should
responsibility and the burden cannot be on women.
Okay. So what should a teenager do when he, or let me say he or she now, discovers that the one that was supposed to be his protector, it is now the one that is like trying to bring up this kind of issue? What would be your advice for such a teenager?
So I think so. We need to create a safe space for teenagers and our children to flourish. So they can only flourish in a society that understands that violations such as these are not acceptable. So that that child does not grow up thinking that they must do something to ensure that they are not violated, right? So that's the first thing, that we have got the responsibility to create the space and the environment where children can be children and flourish in such a way that they know that they are safe in the hands of adults. It's also our responsibility to educate our children about sex, because sex cannot be taboo. That they know when and how to have sex. Thirdly, it's that once a child is violated, it's a crime that must be reported. Society must rally around that child, the family, to ensure that the perpetrator is brought to book. That's our responsibility.
Clevenard in Diaspora Television is an internet online TV service. What sets us apart is a unique combination of hit African content, first and exclusive international free movies, series, musics, news, events, documentaries, tourism, teleshopping shows, youth TV programs, and live interviews. Clevenard Diaspora Television is available throughout sub-Saharan Africa and to the diaspora markets worldwide. Take your entertainment with you wherever you go. Watch on your smartphone, tablet, laptop, smart TV, depending on your device. Watch free movies with Clevenard Movies Television. Stop searching for free movies websites and watch Clevenard Movies Television. Watch your favorite African shows anywhere at any time. Don't forget to check out our top 5 TV channels created to get you informed. TV1, Clevenard in Diaspora Television. TV2, Clevenard Youth Television. TV3, Clevenard Movies Television. TV4, Clevenard Teleshopping Television. TV5, Clevenard Tourism Television. To start watching, sign up at www.clevenard.com and follow the easy steps. Once you're done, log into the Clevenard website or app on your device, click on any one of our 5 TV channels, and hit play. We will be very satisfied and happy to welcome you to our team as one of our new business partners. Contact info@clevenard.com +34 631 279811. Website www.clevenard.com.
All right, Ma, thank you so much for your explanation so far. Thank you for your point of view so far. But I like to ask this. You just talked about parents educating their children on sex and other related issues. So at what age can any parent or can a parent start teaching a child about sex education?
You know, it varies from parent to parent, but I think, I've seen children from the age of 3, 4 asking very directed, pointed questions around sex. So once a child is able to talk, and these children nowadays have got access to social, gadgets that they can navigate and maneuver. They access this information without you even knowing. So once the question comes, from your child, please be open enough to talk about it. If you can't, bring the other aunts and uncles who can have the conversation with your daughter or your son, because we have to have these conversations. They need to know.
Can the school, all right. So can the school play this role?
Of course, the school is also another area and platform where sex education should be encouraged. Because remember, even at school, children get violated by the teachers, right? They need to know the signs. They need to know what should happen once something like that befalls them. So the school also plays a very important role in educating children. So life orientation skills that are given at the schools should sex education should form part of that.
It's all right, man. Now we'll get around to the foundation of the entire topic of discourse itself. Now we've talked about the men perpetrating these evils. They also talked about women's being vulnerable to the act, and then also victims of these sexual assaults and all that. Now, talking about it aside the law, do you have any recommendations on what should be done to curtail these trends?
Wow, I think for me, it's. I think most times, and yesterday, and many sessions that I've had with men, tell me that men don't understand their privilege, or they know it, their privilege, but they're not willing to give it up, right? Because they think, and this is where I think it is where we still not being able to make headway around gender violence, is that they think once they give their privilege that we are going to do the same to them, right? That we're going to be horrible to them. We are going to, when we become free, they're going to be an endangered species. That's not the case. What we are asking for is for our existence to be accepted, to be acknowledged, to be known. And that's about it. Once you accept that there's humanity and that a woman is a human being, and you don't look at her because she's a woman, you look at her because she's another human being who goes through the same things that you go through. She's got pain, she's happy, 1 minute she cries, same thing that happens to you. Once you understand that, then you will appreciate why the control, the power that you exert over her, the possession is not sustainable and cannot continue to be done. So I think at the core of our discussions, conversations, the dialogues that we have to go back to that. And for men to understand what this privilege has done. Because remember, you're talking about gender roles, gender expectations that have been embedded for centuries. For centuries. So to change it requires effort and time and patience, but we have to be consistent in our messaging and these conversations and the dialogues that we are having amongst ourselves, between ourselves, we should be consistent on what we are saying to each other. And for men to really open their ears and stop being defensive, thinking that they are under attack. No one is attacking them. It's us showing them the privilege and what this privilege has given to them.
It's all right. So with the law bill, it's all right. So with the law bill implemented in South Africa, would you say there has been a decline in the amount of violence?
So the law has been a good help in combating gender violence. It helps, and I say we do need laws. Any nation needs laws, because if you don't have laws, we become lawless, all of us. So laws are there just to make sure that citizens are protected. But it's not the answer to everything. And it's not the panacea to ending gender-based violence. It's but one of the elements that you use to curb the violence from spreading and being and happening in large numbers. So yes, we should have laws. Those laws are there to assist to curb the scourge.
All right. Now let's get to hear of your last word to. Let me start from the victim first. What is your last word for every victim of sexual abuse out there?
I don't want to call them victims anymore. I want to call them human beings who
Survivors.
must survive and we can't live in a world that continues to subjugate half of its population in every country. When you look at the population and that women make half of that population, and that's the population that is victimized, that is subjugated, that is violated. We have to reckon with that and make amends. And maybe it's about time that we call for reparation for women, for the pain that has been inflicted for centuries because of our gender. Just because I'm a woman, I was told that I cannot do certain things and I can be violated. And maybe we should talk about reparations. And in fact, I think once we talk about reparations, men will take stock and take notice of what we're trying to do.
All right. So a word for every teenager out there.
Every teenager out there is feel free to ask, have an inquiring mind, and know where to seek help when you experience violation. Know when to speak up when someone is catcalling you, is groping you. Stand up for yourself and don't allow anyone to silence you. You have a voice. Use that voice to, one, say what makes you uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, you said so much for the men, so I'm going to group it under one umbrella. So for the general society, what is your last word for them?
To the general society is that we need to wake up and realize that half of the population which is the majority of the population, is saying to you, treat us with dignity, with integrity, with respect, and humanity. That's all.
Is that right? Thank you so much, Barrister Pajibo. I hope I'm right there.
No, you are correct. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for being on our show this morning.
Thank you, Madam Franca, for the invite.
So
thank you.
And so, viewers, that's what we draw the curtain for today. Till next time, when we come your way with another guest on this program, I remain Franca Lidemudia saying, have a blessed day. Bye.